I'm Lana Zach. Welcome to the CBS News Weekender. President Biden made clear once again Friday he is not planning to drop out of the race despite pressure from inside his party.
I'm the nominee. I'm the nominee of this party because 14 million Democrats like you voted for me in the primaries. You made me the nominee. No one else, not the press, not the pundits, not the insiders, not donors. You, the voters, you decided. No one else. And I'm not going anywhere.
Mr. Biden's visit to the battleground state of Michigan wraps up a busy week for the president. Just the night before, he fielded questions at a press conference about NATO that mainly focused on his age and acuity. There is a sizable and growing list of lawmakers, mostly in the House, publicly calling for President Biden to step down as the presumptive party nominee. We're going to bring in now CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. He is there with the president in Detroit. So, Ed, we heard the crowd chanting affirmations to Biden. How does that influence his decision to stay in the race? And is there a tipping point potentially for the Biden campaign?
Wouldn't you want to walk into a room with a bunch of people saying, don't you quit after the 2 weeks he's had, Lana? That's exactly what he wanted to hear in this big battleground state. And as you see him here on stage, joined by other elected officials and Michigan Democratic Party leaders, trying to send the message to this state and to the country, there's no plan for him as of now to get out. But this rally comes at the end of the longest, toughest stretch of this campaign, those 2 weeks since that debate. Today we learned that there are tens of millions of dollars being withheld from the super PACs that are backing this campaign, that the campaign and the DNC are also in a moment of financial peril as donations are being withheld. Now 5 more House Democrats since his news conference last night have said he should get out. And yet, as he pointed out, there are some national surveys now that show things are holding steady and give him potentially a slight edge over Donald Trump in national polling, at least. All of that, plus crowds like this, is enough for him to continue on as he says he has. He also spent part of today, Lana, back in Washington in Zoom meetings with various parts of the House Democratic Caucus, the one that's been most troubled by the last 2 weeks, explaining to him what his plan was. He was confronted by a California Congressman, Mike Levin, who told him during a meeting, you got to get out of this race. You've done a great job as president. You're going to have a great legacy. Time to move on. He turned to Levin, apparently, according to our sources, and said, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to let people touch me. I'm going to let them poke me. I'm going to let them ask questions. And then you'll see why it is I'm remaining in this race. He's in Michigan tonight. He heads to Texas and Nevada next week. I heard 2 distinct things, Lana, from him. One, for the first time, pretty specific attacks on Project 2025, this Heritage Foundation right-wing think tank project that is designed to be a blueprint for what the next Trump administration would do if he wins in November. But the second thing he's done, to my ear for the first time, is pretty clearly begin to lay out what he would do in his first 100 days. Send a bill to Congress restoring Roe versus Wade, ban assault-style weapons, focus on voting rights. Those are all the meat and potatoes, the kind of things that his base wants to hear. Well, this is a base-focused election. It's what he's got to be saying, and for the first time, he's beginning to think ahead, not just talk about what he did before as the campaign continues.
Definitely. Really quickly, you mentioned those national polls. Michigan is crucial to the Biden campaign because it is a battleground state. How is the president faring in those battleground state polls?
Well, they're just as even. Single digits one way or the other. Trump appears to have the advantage now, and some political forecasters this week moved as many as 6 of the battleground states into the Trump column. But the Biden team turns around and says, we got 4 months. It's the middle of the summer. There's plenty of time still. In their view, the campaign hasn't really begun because most Americans don't start thinking about this until around Labor Day. Whether or not that's the case, we'll see. Because certainly there's been a lot of agita in the Democratic Party over the last 2 weeks and concern that what we saw at the debate is something that we could see again. That speech tonight, pretty boisterous. He clearly had his Wheaties or something before he came out here. And it was designed, once again, second night in a row in the primetime hours, to demonstrate to anybody who was tuning in that in their view, he's got what it'll take to win the White House again.
All right. Ed O'Keefe traveling with the president for us there in Detroit. Thanks, Ed.